everyone, I'm NornQueenAlexis and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this video where I'm going to be going over my more competitive Sisters of Battle, or at least my starting competitive list for Sisters of Battle as we push into 9th edition. So a lot of people have asked me to make a video about this and about all of the armies being updated and everything, and a new beginner's guide series. I unfortunately can't right now because, well, I can't do a new beginner's guide series because we don't know what any of the other codexes have. But that being said, I do want to make a video about Space Marines and what units from the Baby Marine line to keep an eye out for. But that being said, a lot of you have asked me what my competitive list is going into 9th edition, now knowing that we just got the buffs to the Multi-Melta, the Heavy Bolter, as well as several other weapons, including all flamers going to 12 inches. So let's take a look at my army and see what we can really do with it. Personally, I think you might be surprised what my strategies are going into 9th edition. So taking a look at the force of Adeptus Sororitas we have here, we have quite a bit, including one unpainted rhino that's just sitting there all gray. It still needs its paint job, please forgive me. But there is a lot to choose from the standard Battle Sisters to the Retributors to Penitent Engines, Repentia, Seraphim and Seraphim, Celestine, and all a plethora of different characters that we have to go with. We really have to buckle down and choose where we're going to start. And when it comes to my competitive list, the first thing that I always include, the literal first thing that I put in my army list is three Exorcists. Triple Exorcists are extremely powerful and just got a buff with the Heavy Bolter going up to 2 wounds. Now, my Exorcists may be a little bit different than the ones that you're typically used to seeing. They're made out of the Forge World Whirlwind turret, so they are a little bit different, but whatever, they get the point across. I do need to rip off this front bit so that I can actually put a Heavy Bolter on there, but that's what they are. Now, from there, you may be wondering, oh, so you go to HQ next, correct? Well, yeah, you're right, actually. The second choice that I make is Celestine. So, a lot of people, they don't really like Celestine as of right now, but I'm telling you, she's a rock star. You're going to absolutely need her in your army. Your opponent will fear Celestine. Whether they want to admit it or not, a giant angel coming towards them will intimidate them. Now, typically, I used to choose as my next choice Saint Junith, as I call her because I have a living saint version of her. But now with the Palatine coming out, and the Palatine doing exactly what I want Junith to do, which is to reroll 1s to wound for a Martyred Lady, we might have a Palatine that does the same thing. So I have to wait to determine whether or not I want to take Junith or a Palatine. More than likely, if the Palatine does the exact same thing that I need, I run the Palatine. Oh, and if it's not obvious, I run Martyred Lady. And you may be wondering, why Martyred Lady? Well, it's because all my sisters are painted Martyred Lady, and because I honestly think it's the best. I've had this debate with a few other people, and a lot of people think that Bloody Rose is the best, Ebon Chalice is the best, but my reasoning for Martyred Lady to be the best is simply when I take 1 casualty out of a squad, I now hit with Meltaguns on a 2+, rerolling 1s. So, yeah. Now, you might be surprised at my next choice. It's actually the Triumph of St. Catherine. The Triumph of St. Catherine is going to be absolutely an absolute powerhouse in the coming edition, with it being able to hide behind ruins, with its wounds going down from 18 to 9 while it's in terrain, with it also being infantry. This thing can climb ruins. Just putting that out there, this thing can climb terrain because it is infantry. And it's extremely powerful. It's good in close combat. It's good at practically everything, but it does not have the order keyword, so it won't benefit from a lot of things in the army. So, with that being said, you might be wondering, well, Alexis, what kind of army are you actually running? And that is a close combat army. I run 18 Repentia. Repentia are incredible. They went down to strength 7 because we all knew that that was coming. But Repentia are still a must-have in your army. Repentia can deal out so much damage, while at the same time as being able to, if they're assaulted, get the damage in regardless of if they're there or not, with a stratagem, being able to hit things twice. They are an anti-tank, anti-heavy infantry. These things will tear through any and all Space Marine equivalents that you run into. Now you may be wondering, why not take Penitent Engines or the Mortifiers or whatever the heck they're called now? They're actually not that good. The cat is attacking my foot. Then I finally moved down to my Battle Sisters themselves. I typically take them in units of 15, but with units of 15 actually not being that great this time around, it really depends on if I take another HQ choice. If I take my Canoness, who is right here, or my other Canoness, who is right next to her, if I take one of these two units and give them the Iron Surplus as well as the Indomitable Belief stratagem or Warlord trait, or the ability to get another +1 on their invulnerable save. Canonesses are kind of really universal when it comes to this. I typically do take a Canoness. If I do take a Canoness, I take a Priest, because you need a Priest. They're dirt cheap. Cat, get off the table. What are you doing? What are you doing? Can you stop? I am petting you. Let me pet you. You're dumb. Anyway, Canoness, Triumph of St. Catherine, Celestine, Palatine. You're taking a lot of HQs. It does hurt. So from there, you need to fill out your troop choices. Typically 3 for a battalion detachment is perfectly fine, although I have seen people take 6 troop choices, with them just being the 5 women, 2 with bolters, 2 with meltas, 2 with a giant cat on the... So if you are taking Repentia, you're going to need 2 rhinos. Within the rhinos, you're going to need your priest, and depending on what else you take in the army, possibly your Magifier. But I typically keep my Magifier, or my Simulacrum Imperialis, but the Magifier, I typically keep her out on the open around all of my Battle Sisters. This allows the Battle Sisters themselves and the Repentia, depending on how close they are, to have a 4-up invulnerable save. Repentia with a 4-up invo save, where if one of them dies, they hit on 3+ instead of 4+ because their weapon is -1 to hit, is honestly insane. And if you have a Palatine or Junith, you're re-rolling ones to wound. If you have a Canoness, you're re-rolling ones to hit. So Repentia become almost an auto hit in Martyred Lady. So these are things to just keep in mind as you build your army list. Now you'll note that I do have Seraphim out as well as Repressors and other rhinos and everything. And this is because there really isn't a terrible way to run Sisters right now. Pick one thing and spam it, but I highly suggest that you pick some of the more necessities or things that go into your list right away. Should be the Triumph of St. Catherine, a Canoness, Celestine, as well as 3 of any of the either melee units, artillery units, or Retributors. Retributors are incredible. I'm looking at squads of, and I'm really liking this build, by the way, squads of 4 multi-maltas, a combi flamer on the Sister Superior with a chainsword, and then 5 extra sisters with a Simulacrum Imperialis. And the reason for this is because we can actually activate the what is the thing called? Holy Trinity. Because we have a flamer, because we have bolters, because we have meltaguns, these meltaguns will now wound on +1. So if you have to kill a tank dead, it is really good to put a combi flamer in there, as well as 1 extra sister for a bolt gun, because technically that weapon could fire both, and I think it does count rules as written, but I always take an extra sister just to absorb damage anyway. So there's that. Also, you can stick these girls inside a repressor and fire outside the repressor, which is still pretty insane. And if you're moving the repressor and use the one order where you can move and fire heavy weapons, technically the repressor can move and these girls can fire normally. Just saying. So when it comes to competitive sisters, my list is as followed. Celestine, a Canoness with the Blessed Blade Inferno Pistol. I do run an Inferno Pistol on here. Some people say it's bad. I say you're dumb. Iron Surplus, and yes, I do call it the Iron Surplus, as well as the Warlord trait that gives +1 to invulnerable saves. Then I run a Priest and a Magifier. I don't run Hospitalers. They're not really that useful. The Triumph of St. Catherine, a Palatine, which is standing right next to her, and Battle Sisters, 2 groups of Retributors, Repentia with their chainswords, 2 Rhinos, and that's pretty much my list at 2,000 points exact. I think it comes out to 1998, which is rather funny. I will tell you now, there are things to avoid if you are playing a competitive list, and that's, well, spamming weak units and, well, penitent engines. I don't really see them as that useful. They have to move across the field, they don't benefit from any of the sororitas abilities, and overall they're kind of mediocre. I've not been impressed with their work so far. Seraphim are really good, Seraphim are excellent, and just got a huge buff, and I kind of want to buy 30 Seraphim to try a really fun list. And I do think that if you're running a super competitive list, that Seraphim, or at least 1 unit of them, is absolutely necessary. But that being said, I want to know what your competitive lists are. What your list of Sisters of Battle is right now for your narrative play, for your fun games. Comment all of that in the comment section down below. I do love reading army lists. I typically read all of them that appear in my Discord. If I don't comment on them, I'm still looking at them and looking them over and seeing if I can make them better or if I can try them out and really enjoy them. But that all being said, comment in the comment section down below. Follow all the links in the description down below. There you can follow me on all sorts of social media, including Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, as well as Patreon. Patreon goes a long way to helping out the channel. And I want to thank each and every single person who donates on Patreon. You guys are awesome, and you're literally keeping me from going crazy. As always, I'm NornQueenAlexis. I love you guys. Bye.